Lane Kiffin's got to decide on something here. Ole Miss has got to decide on something here. I got a lot of people asking me, hey, is Lane going to Florida? I don't know. I don't think he does. The message boards do. A lot of information on the message boards out there. Look, I'm not smart. I'm not as smart as those people. So I cannot tell you definitively what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. I think, number one, that I don't think he 100% knows what he's going to do. Again, contrary to message board rumor, I don't believe that. Maybe he thinks he knows. It's not time to make a decision yet, is my point. But it should be very close to time. Number two, you got to understand when we assess the landscape and the situation here, and you know that Florida's waiting on an answer from him. Ole Miss is certainly waiting on an answer from him. LSU may be waiting on an answer from him. Not to mention there could be NFL jobs that I know way less about, but theoretically, like they could be waiting on an answer from him. But even if the NFL didn't exist, the others still apply. You got to remember, Lane was radioactive for a long time. So anyone trying to put themselves in his shoes, good luck. But anyone who still tries to put themselves in his shoes, you need to understand, he for a long time sought this. When he went down to FAU and it was image rehab time and he did it, and then he came to Oxford and it was image rehab time, he did it, and now it's done. For a while, he tried to garner interest from other places. That's not even a guarantee he would have gone. I'm just saying he tried to garner interest from other places, and it was a non-starter for a lot of places. We are not pursuing him for what they would deem obvious reasons. They're pursuing him now. This is the first time. This is the first cycle that level of pursuit has been there. That matters. Like imagine yourself pursuing something for a long time and all of a sudden, oh, what? It's here. I can have it. Well, what's your instinct? That's the situation he's in right now. Now, he's also in a really good position at Ole Miss. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's not performing, because he absolutely is performing, because that's his nature. He is not lying when he talks about how good he has it there. He'd be lying if he said he didn't have everything he needs there. That would be the lie. He's never said that. He is rightfully acknowledging, man, we got it good here right now. He went full Andy Bernard in his press conference last night. Did you hear that, Jesse? He basically pulled he didn't even say, I wish there was a way to know we're in the good old days before we've left them. He freely acknowledged, here I am in the good old days. Now, it's looking to look pretty stupid if you're wearing a Florida Gator hat a month from now, looking back on the good old days saying, adios. But that's another segment for another time. I have not thought about it from Lane Kiffin's vantage point this week a whole lot. I've thought about it, and especially this past weekend, I just thought about it from the Ole Miss perspective. Lane Kiffin's free to feel however he wants to, and he's free to pursue opportunities, but Ole Miss is free to handle their business too. And I'm just telling you, this is how I would be if I were Ole Miss, if I were Keith Carter, if I were the big money people there. Knowing full well I've given this guy everything he needs, everything he's ever asked for. There are very few no's that Lane Kiffin has gotten in Oxford, Mississippi. At some point, I'm getting an answer from him, and it's going to happen before the Egg Bowl. I'm putting a new contract in front of him. Everything he says he needs is on this piece of paper, and he's either going to sign it, and we're going to move on, and the noise is going to die down, and we're going to put out a big announcement right before we play Mississippi State, like A&M did with Elko yesterday, or we're going to understand we'll wrap up this regular season, and then we'll go our separate ways. And I'm just telling you, if I'm Ole Miss, Pete Golding is going to be my head coach in the playoff. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. If I'm not good enough for you to stick around in the future, then you're not good enough to stick around here when it comes playoff time. That's the way I would be. You got to be selfish at some point. You got to look out for your best interests at some point. And I'm telling you, if I'm Ole Miss, and I got to acknowledge there's a big difference in the way I, Josh Pate, view this versus the way I would view it if I were Ole Miss. I watch it from a distance, and he's putting out the Instagram stories, and he's putting out these vague statements here and there. Hey, I think it's funny. I'm not Ole Miss. If I were Ole Miss, it would piss me off to no end, because it's like watching a 10-year-old play games about which fourth grade class he's going to be in. Dude, I'm paying you millions of dollars, offering you millions more, and have given you yeses to everything you've ever asked, and gave you the opportunity to resurrect your image on my dime, by the way. And you've done your part. You've given me results. So it's been mutually beneficial. But dude, like, we've both compensated each other very fairly. So there's been fair trade here. I got to worry about today moving forward. And if you're going to jack around like this, I don't have time for it much longer. I mean, we've been through this for like a month now. And it's like watching a middle school play. This is not what that is. It's just real life. So I got to get an answer from him if I'm Ole Miss. Because you know what else? You know what else has happened? We've given Lane everything he needs. He's given us everything we asked. But in the interim, what's happened is this job is a way better job than it looked like it was 5 years ago. So all due respect, mountains of respect to Lane Kiffin, if I'm Ole Miss, I want you to be my head coach. But if it's not you, I'm going to be okay. I need to know sooner rather than later, and I'm going to be okay because you know what I think? I think I could be very competitive with Auburn in trying to pursue John Sumrall. That's what I think. Because there aren't many places in the SEC right now that are set up better to succeed immediately than Ole Miss. A lot of people have been chasing Ole Miss from an NIL perspective for quite a while. Like industry insiders kind of know that. I think prospective coaches know that. So I got to get an answer from him. Florida, I think he's their plan A, and I think they're waiting. But also I think Florida would love an answer sooner rather than later. I have no clue what LSU is doing on the Lane Kiffin front. I assume that they're pursuing him as well. If I had to guess right now, my mind has changed on this a few times. If I had to guess, if I have to put my name on paper right now and then I don't get to change it again no matter what information comes my way, my guess is he's going to go to Florida. That's my guess. No definitive knowledge. Let me put it that way. Maybe a little bit of knowledge. I do talk to a few people, but that's a guess. I don't know. My advice to Lane Kiffin, though, would be listen to yourself. It's always great advice. Listen to your heart. Now, if you believe what you've said publicly, you've already made a better case for staying at Ole Miss than Ole Miss has ever made for you to stay at Ole Miss. If you've been sincere about it. If you haven't been sincere about it, that's okay. I get how it works, man. I understand there's no perfect way to navigate this. So if you've been insincere about how good you feel about Ole Miss, you need to take another job. If you've been sincere about how you feel about Ole Miss, you need to not overthink the room and sign a contract extension and let's move on. A lot of people thought action was coming today on that front. That was never happening. Again, I freely admit I don't know as much as the message board posters do. Those are the real insiders out there, not me. But that was never happening. But it could happen soon.